Greetings, my scattered sisters and brothers in the Lord. Trust you know the Lord is with you wherever you find yourself scattered today, and that you know that His presence with you is more than enough for whatever you might face today. Well, we are right on the cusp of the feeding of the 5,000. It's Mark chapter 6. Jesus has gotten away with His disciples only to be met by a crowd. And so we are going to pick it up at verse 32. So Mark chapter 6, verse 32. So they went away by themselves in a boat to a solitary place. But many who saw them leaving recognized them and ran on foot from all the towns and got there ahead of them. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, He had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So He began teaching them many things. By this time it was late in the day, so His disciples came to Him. "This is a remote place," they said, "and it's already very late. Send the people away so that they can go to the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat." But Jesus answered, "You give them something to eat." They said to Him, "That would take almost a year's wages. Are we to go and spend that much on bread and give it to them to eat?" "How many loaves do you have?" Jesus asked. "Go and see." When they found out, they said, 5 and 2 fish. Then Jesus directed them to have all the people sit down in groups on the green grass. So they sat down in groups of hundreds and fifties. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up to heaven, Jesus gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then He gave them to His disciples to set before the people. He also divided the 2 fish among them all. They all ate and were satisfied. And the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces of bread and fish. The number of men who had eaten was 5,000. Now, there's a lot to talk about here, and we'll probably spend a couple sessions on this. But the main point I want to look at today is that Jesus landed and He saw the crowd, and they were like sheep without a shepherd. And Jesus was moved with compassion. He had compassion upon them. And what did Jesus do? He taught them. And then it grew late in the day, and so He fed them. It's pretty interesting because usually when I think about compassion, in fact, I think I've been programmed to think this way, that compassionate ministry would be the feeding ministry. That compassionate ministry is when you're trying to meet somebody's, physical needs, whether it's clothing, whether it's food, whether it's shelter, whatnot. That I've been programmed to think of that as being compassionate. And yet, when Jesus looks at the crowd, He has compassion upon them, and what does He do? He doesn't immediately whip up a meal. He starts to teach them. That out of His compassion, He begins to teach them about the kingdom of God. And we don't know what all He said. Eventually, He's going to do this miracle, and for Mark, the miracle is the lesson. But maybe one of the things that we need to learn, I need to learn, is that compassionate ministry isn't limited to, meeting physical needs in terms of food, in terms of health, in terms of shelter. That compassionate ministry may involve teaching. Jesus had compassion upon them, and He began to teach them. And no doubt, He was teaching them about the kingdom of God. And so it's causing me to kind of stop and rethink teaching as an act of compassion. And I don't know where you might be scattered today, and you may be feeling like, kind of stuck in the same mindset that I was stuck in terms of compassion is meeting somebody's physical need. But maybe compassion is teaching, and there may be, that guy get past, there may be somebody that you need to have compassion upon, compassion in the sense of teaching, compassion in the sense of sharing with them about God's kingdom and God's ways and what they can receive, the life they can receive in Jesus. Notice that everybody who stuck around, they ate and they were satisfied. But I suspect the reason why they stuck around late into the day is that they were already being satisfied by the teaching of Jesus. And the meal at the end of the day just kind of clinched it. Well, wherever you find yourself scattered today, if you have opportunity, show compassion to someone. Teach them about the kingdom of God. Teach them about Jesus. Most compassionate thing you can ever do. God bless. Have a compassionate day.